Ancient Egyptian and ancient African numbers were very easy to draw. These symbols here can be challenging for early learners as early as 2 to 5 years old. We suggest that parents help fill the gap until the learners learn these symbols to use ancient Kemetic or ancient Egyptian numbers as part of a concrete, pictorial, abstract learning approach. Very easy. Kemetic number for 1 looks exactly like our typical number 1. But now this is where the commonality diverges, where ancient Kemetic numbers were quantity based. So now we have 2 tally marks, which represents the quantity of 2, which is very helpful for learners to learn one-to-one correspondence. Counting on from 2, 1, 2, 3. Again, learners can learn the concept of counting and work on developing their fine motor skills by simply using these ancient African tally mark systems that survived in Africa for tens of thousands of years. Here we also have the value for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, this was the earliest known numeracy system on planet Earth. African math is, and arguably the earliest known numeracy system on planet Earth. Going back to the ancient Limbobo bone and Ishango bone that have been carbon dated to be tens of thousands of years old. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm encouraging parents to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm encouraging parents to return to the use of these tally marks. They were used to teach early scribes in ancient Egypt. And a similar system was also used by the Babylonians. Let's draw 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And then there's 10. The value for 10 looks like this. It's a house of 10. It represents an ancient Nguni house. If you go look up ancient or you look up Nguni house, they look like this. They're curved at the top. And there's a strong indication that this learning system derived from ancient South Africa. African abacus is located in Mapungubwe. The counting system for ancient South Africans means a house of 10. 8 means a house of 10, take away 2. And 9 means a house of 10, take away 1. So it seems that this tally mark math toy ancient system goes back to ancient times in Southern Africa based on the counting system alone. But we do have a symbol for takeaway in the African math system. It's the same as a 0. This is our negative symbol. So instead of our 0 being the open circle, our actual negative symbol, our negative symbols are open circles. These symbols would be our positive, the tally marks, as well as dots. If you want to use dots to represent beads, you can use those as well. Our negative system is just an open circle where this is a -1. This is a -2, and so forth. -1, 2, 3. -1, 2, 3, 4. -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think you get the gist of it. If you want to keep counting on, you understand that these are our negatives. Now here's the magic of it all. There's a concept of something called a zero pair. To place and erase the same object and the same quantity always equals 0. In our system, our modern system, a red bead represents takeaway. It's like in regular accounting, red means to subtract or take away. That's why we don't want to end up in the red when doing accounting, because that's the takeaway. Our positive beads are represented by yellow. This is because a lot of math toys in our modern world represent units in the color of yellow, especially when it comes to algebra tiles. Red is universally negative or takeaway in our accounting system, and we believe learners should be taught that at the earliest stage possible. When you combine a negative and a positive, this produces what's called a zero pair. Our pictorial representation of this concept is, again, to combine a negative with a positive, which produces this symbol, which is a zero pair. So this is our 0. Again, if you like to represent your 0 with a bead or a dot, that's fine. That's your positive representation of it. To encircle it would be to add a negative value as well, producing a 0 pair. This is what our 0 pairs look like. This is very important when it comes to ancient Kemetic math, Egyptian math, and even modern African math. It's very important because negative values are embedded within many African languages when it comes to counting. Again, this symbol represents 10. So in our counting symbol, in our counting system, our modern African math counting system, our value for tens are represented by the color green because, again, it's very common with algebra tiles. So our value for 10 is represented by green. So this is a house of 10. So you remember earlier I was telling you that South Africans, for the value of 8 and 9, have embedded within their counting system a house of 10, take away 2 is the same as 8. Then they also embedded within the counting system a house of 10, take away 1 is the same as 9. When we found this discovery in our travels to South Africa, it was mind-blowing because South Africans have stewarded and preserved the oldest language arguably on earth, and it's shed light on the brilliant sophistication of our African ancestors to have embedded advanced algorithms into the very language itself, which is shedding light on the linguistic value of African languages. Shout out to our Nigerian brothers and sisters who have a very similar system where they also subtract values when counting up. And the value of that is that it makes it possible to quickly add and subtract by creating 0 pairs instead of memorization, rote memorization. And I'll teach you all more about that in later lessons. I think this introductory lesson is very important so that we start to look deeper into the African languages and their use and preserving that language and those languages and algorithms for further discovery. It's very important. And with that, I'm going to close. I always leave with this proverb of what education is, because A lot of people go to school and they graduate and then they enter into the real world without the skill sets necessary to obtain employment. And I think this would help parents and educators if we simply find a very good definition of what education is. Education is preparation for the next generation to inherit their nation. Just think about it. That's what education is. So make sure that you're not just teaching children random classical studies and philosophy and theology and the like if it has no relevance or value in the real world when they graduate. There's a difference between education and certification. You can get certification through learning institutions, but education is what's needed by the nation. So if your nation needs infrastructure, then it's wise for the education to be centered around those needs. If your nation needs technology advancements, it's wise to educate the learners about technology as they're developed and not place emphasis in the education on areas outside of the needs of the nation. That will always be my rally cry. Education is preparation for the next generation to inherit their nation. I share that information with you in the most sincere spirit of love. And with that, I really enjoyed this lesson with you. I look forward to us sitting down for the next one. And until then, happy learning.